if the government reopens, like, do you expect, I mean, from your own...
The Bitwise XRP ETF, I need to be...
I would say the biggest question from central banks is, what is the role of tokenization and digitization?
That all of the requirements have been met. Another great picture. Look at Tolly, he's so excited.
Hey everyone, Chris Dunn here, and wow, I have to tell you, what I'm seeing right now is absolutely unprecedented. I've been in this crypto space for years, through some seriously brutal bear markets, but I have never, and I mean never, witnessed this kind of mass rage quitting before. This is next level stuff, people. All right, everyone, are you seeing what I'm seeing here? Because there's definitely a pattern emerging and it's pretty wild. So check this out. We've got Gibbous dropping some serious concern, saying he's worried this could be the beginning of the end for this entire crypto cycle. Maybe even for crypto as we know it. Then Will Clement jumps in and says the vibes in his crypto group chats are just, honestly, they're depressing. People are completely throwing in the towel left and right. And here's the thing, these aren't just random people we're talking about. These are major influencers. Yazison straight up announced, I'm done with crypto. TXMC and tons of others are saying they're selling everything and walking away from their positions. The bottom line? The sentiment out there is absolutely brutal right now. People are hitting that panic button like there's no tomorrow. And honestly, I bet some of you watching right now are thinking the exact same thing these influencers are thinking. But let me ask you this. How bad is the situation really? Okay, let's take a step back for a minute. I want you to forget about all the emotions, all the fear, all your preconceived notions about what should happen. Just look at the raw data with me for a second. This brilliant insight comes from Skykadelic, and it really makes you think. Here's the question. Do we seriously believe that after 4 solid years of massive growth and adoption in crypto, the entire market is only going to pump 40% above its previous all-time high? I mean, when you put it like that, it does seem pretty unlikely, doesn't it? That's actually a really compelling point when you think about it logically. All right, let's dive into the numbers here. I want to show you the total crypto market cap, and this is going to be really eye-opening. So what I'm doing right here is drawing a line at the previous all-time high. You can see it right there on the chart. This is going to give us the perfect reference point to see exactly how far the crypto market has actually moved from that peak. So let me break this down for you with some real numbers that'll blow your mind. If we go back to the 2018 high, and remember, this is the total market cap for all cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin included. From that 2018 peak all the way to the massive high we hit in 2021, we saw an absolutely incredible jump of almost 300%. That's nearly a 3x increase. But here's where it gets interesting. From that 2021 peak to where we are right now, as I'm recording this video, we're only looking at about a 22% increase. And even if we're talking about the current all-time high, we're still just sitting at around 42% above that 2021 level. Think about that for a second. 300% growth in one cycle, but only 42% in the next? That's a pretty dramatic difference, right? And this is where he raises a really fascinating question that got me thinking. He's asking, is this level of weak growth actually realistic when you consider everything that's changed in the crypto landscape? I mean, think about it. We now have countries building up Bitcoin reserves. We've got the Genius Act potentially coming into play. And don't even get me started on stablecoins. These things are literally purchasing US treasuries as backing, which is absolutely massive for legitimacy and adoption. So the real question becomes, with all of this institutional support and regulatory progress, does it even make sense that we'd only see such modest gains? And this is where he raises a really fascinating question that got me thinking. He's asking, is this level of weak growth actually realistic when you consider everything that's changed in the crypto landscape? I mean, think about it. We now have countries building up Bitcoin reserves. We've got the Genius Act potentially coming into play. And don't even get me started on stablecoins. These things are literally purchasing US treasuries as backing, which is absolutely massive for legitimacy and adoption. So the real question becomes, with all of this institutional support and regulatory progress, does it even make sense that we'd only see such modest gains? So when you really think about it logically, calling this the top just doesn't add up, does it? Now look, I'll be the first to admit, yeah, there are tons of absolutely worthless crypto projects out there. We all know that. But here's the thing, those garbage projects, they're just a tiny sliver of what actually drives this market and what really matters. Here's the reality, whether you want to accept it or not, this technology isn't going anywhere. It's been completely validated as a game changer for our future. We're talking about crypto becoming a foundational pillar of how society operates moving forward. That's not hype, that's just where we're headed. So with that kind of massive long-term significance, does it really make sense that we'd peak at such modest gains? I don't think so. Here's a more engaging and conversational version for your YouTube voiceover. So we're looking at about a 40% pump so far, but the big question is, are we going to see more upside from here? Well, the naysayers definitely have their own take on this. Income Sharks dropped a post that really caught my attention. He's pointing out something that I think a lot of people are conveniently forgetting, just how absolutely euphoric and bullish everyone was on social media not too long ago. And hey, I'll admit it, I was right there with everyone else, aggressively posting bullish content left and right. So here's his logic, and it's actually pretty solid. Just because everyone seems bearish right now doesn't automatically mean we can't be at a top. That whole argument of everyone's too pessimistic so we must keep going up, yeah, that doesn't really hold water when you think about it. He's basically saying that sentiment can flip faster than we think, and past euphoria doesn't guarantee future gains. So if we look at the Fear and Greed Index right now, we're sitting at 33, which means we're still deep in fear territory. No surprise there, right? Now here's what's really interesting. Even though the total market cap has ticked up a little bit, there's something I keep talking about in these videos that's still not happening. We're just not seeing that flood of fresh liquidity pouring into the market that we really need. And that's a pretty big deal, because without new money coming in, it's really hard to sustain any meaningful rally. The market is absolutely dead flat today, guys. I mean, really flat. Now, if you're watching this on the day I'm dropping this video, which is Saturday, November 1st, then you're seeing this action in real time with me. All right, we've also got this really insightful comment here from George Bodlin about why prices aren't pushing higher. But before we dive into that, let me remind you of something super important. And I know some of you might be wondering why I keep focusing on Bitcoin in these videos. Here's the deal. Bitcoin has to move up first before we see any real action in altcoins. That's just how this market works, period. I actually mentioned this yesterday and got some pushback from viewers, but it's the truth. So if you're holding alts and wondering why they're not pumping, this is exactly why. Now, George makes a brilliant point about why we've been stuck in these Bitcoin doldrums. It really comes down to one simple thing. Long-term holders tend to sell into bull market peaks, and that's exactly what's been happening. And here's the thing, guys. We just haven't hit that peak yet. We haven't seen that crazy exuberance where everyone's losing their minds with FOMO. We haven't witnessed those massive sell-offs into a classic blow-off top. It simply hasn't happened yet. That's just the reality. But here's what's really interesting and different about this cycle. Demand keeps stepping in every time we dip. The price is actually holding strong when you look at the bigger picture. Just take a look at this chart with me. There's clearly no peak here yet. We're nowhere near that euphoric top that signals the end of a bull run. So George's conclusion? He's still totally convinced we're in a bull market. We just need to be patient and let it play out. Sometimes the market makes us wait longer than we'd like, but that doesn't mean the party's over. All right, this is huge news. Bitwise President Teddy Fusaro just dropped some major insights about their upcoming XRP ETF, and you need to hear this. Here's something really important that I don't want you to forget. There are several ETFs in the pipeline just waiting for the government to reopen. And when that happens, we could be looking at absolutely massive institutional exposure flowing into XRP for the first time ever. This intel is coming from Z Crypto, and they've got this incredible clip from Crypto America that you absolutely have to listen to. Trust me, this is going to blow your mind.
If the government reopens, like, do you expect, I mean, from your own XRP, and I don't know how much you can say on this, honestly, but from your own applications, do you expect, the SEC to, maybe launch those or approve those rather quickly, or is there still work to be done on the XRP ETF specifically?
Yeah, so it's a great question, Ellie. The honest answer is that I don't know. And the second part of the honest answer is that I because it's a registration statement that is not effective for the Bitwise XRP ETF, I need to be super cautious about what I do say, but I can say a few things. And what I can say is that when you want to avail yourself of this, what I will call the auto effective clause that allows the registration statement to automatically go effective, you're not just going alone. You as a registrant, you need to have a listing exchange that is willing to list the product. And so in the case of the Bitwise Solana staking ETF be sold, that was the New York Stock Exchange. As you showed the pictures, we had the great event yesterday. The listing exchange needs to be comfortable that all of the disclosure requirements have been met, that the registrant and the registrant's outside counsel are comfortable that all of the requirements have been met. Another great picture. Look at Toli, he's so excited. Each of these issuers has an auditor, required to have an auditor, and the auditor needs to sign off on this. There needs to be authorized participants. There need to be market makers. There need to be liquidity providers. So it's sort of like this whole ecosystem of others that need to be comfortable that the registration statement going effective in this manner.
Did you catch what he said at the beginning of that clip? He mentioned they're not going it alone, and that's actually a really big deal. What he means is there are other major players in the game right now. We're talking about multiple companies that have already registered and are sitting there waiting for their ETFs to get the green light, right alongside these XRP ETFs. So this isn't just about one ETF. We're looking at potentially several getting approved at the same time. But here's the catch. The government does need to reopen first before any of this can move forward. So we're all playing the waiting game right now, but when it happens, it could be massive. Okay, now we're getting into some serious timeline talk here. Paul Barron just dropped a bombshell. He's saying November 13th could be the most important date for XRP holders in literally years. That's a pretty bold statement. And here's why he might be right. Canary Funds just cleared the path for what could be the very first spot XRP ETF in the United States. This is absolutely groundbreaking stuff. But why should you care about this economically? Well, let me tell you, we're talking about massive institutional access here. Bitwise's chief investment officer is predicting that XRP ETFs could become billion-dollar funds within just the first few months of launching. Think about that for a second. We're potentially looking at billions and billions of dollars flooding into XRP. That's the kind of money that can completely change the game. I mean, just let that sink in for a moment, right? So right now, XRP is sitting pretty comfortably around $2.50. It's been kind of hanging out in this price range for the past couple of weeks, just consolidating. But here's where it gets really exciting. Think about those massive inflows we're talking about. Remember what happened to Bitcoin when we started seeing all that buildup leading to the ETF approval? That was back in January 2024, and it was absolutely incredible to watch. Bitcoin went absolutely ballistic once that institutional money started pouring in. So now imagine that same scenario, but with XRP. We could be looking at a similar explosive move. So the Bitcoin ETFs actually launched right around here on the chart. And you know what's interesting? Bitcoin did start climbing at first. But then, whoops, it took a pretty nasty dive before we saw that massive next leg up. This is actually a really important pattern to remember. When you think about those ETF launches, I believe it was January 8th or 9th if I'm remembering correctly. In 2024, Bitcoin's price eventually took off in a big way. Sure, it dipped first, just like I showed you, but then it absolutely rocketed up about 62%. That's incredible. Now, if we apply that same logic to XRP, I mean, honestly, I would take a 62% gain any day of the week. Are you kidding me? XRP pumping 62% from these levels? That would be absolutely amazing, guys. That would push XRP well above $4 per coin. Now we're talking. And get this, he mentions that the Rex Osprey XRP fund, which operates under a completely different structure, has already crossed the $100 million mark. That's just one fund. But wait, it gets even better. There are 7 major firms with pending ETF applications right now. 7. We're talking about some serious institutional interest here. Remember what happened when the SEC dropped that Ripple case? XRP shot up 10% almost instantly. So just imagine what could happen when these ETFs actually get approved. This could be the catalyst we've all been waiting for. But that's not the only catalyst we should be excited about, guys. There's also the real-world utility side of things. And let me tell you, this is absolutely exploding right now. Check this out. Flutterwave just announced another major partnership, this time with Polygon. And this isn't just any ordinary partnership. This is positioning Polygon's infrastructure as the backbone for payment flows around the entire globe. We're talking about a complete watershed moment here for real-world stablecoin adoption, especially in emerging markets. This is the kind of stuff that shows crypto isn't just speculation anymore. It's becoming actual infrastructure that people use every single day. All right, here's the latest scoop on Ripple partner Flutterwave, and this is absolutely massive. So Polygon Labs just made a huge announcement about their new product. They're calling it the premier blockchain for payments and real-world assets. And guess who just selected them? Flutterwave. We're talking about Africa's largest payment infrastructure here, guys. These people have processed over $40 billion in transaction volumes to date. That's not small change. Flutterwave has chosen Polygon as their default blockchain network to power their brand new cross-border payment products. Now here's where it gets really interesting. Since Flutterwave is a Ripple partner, and they're getting into cross-border payments, there's a really good chance this is all going to flow over the XRP Ledger. Connect those dots. This partnership is positioning Polygon's infrastructure as the foundation for payment flows across the entire globe. We're literally watching a watershed moment unfold for real-world stablecoin adoption in emerging markets. Now, Flutterwave isn't rushing into this. They're being smart about it. They're starting with a phased rollout, beginning with a pilot program this quarter. The full solution won't be available to all Flutterwave businesses until 2026, but that gives them time to perfect everything. This collaboration is going to be incredible. Flutterwave is integrating Polygon's super high-performance blockchain infrastructure to make cross-border payments faster and way cheaper for their massive network of global companies. We're talking about giants like Uber, AudioMac, and others. Now think about this for a second. These companies have to pay out absolutely enormous amounts of money to their workers all around the world. I'm not sure who AudioMac is, but Uber? That's a name we all know. Just imagine all the payments Uber has to make to their drivers every single day. And these drivers are literally everywhere, across continents, different countries, different currencies. It's a logistical nightmare. So if there's an integrated system that can make all these payments completely seamless, fast, and dirt cheap, that's a game changer. These companies save tons of money on transaction fees, workers get paid faster, and everyone wins. It's basically the holy grail of global payments, making everything seamless, easy, and cost-effective for everybody involved. So, here's how this partnership is going to roll out. They're being really strategic about this. Phase 1 is all about enterprise clients, so we're talking about big businesses getting access first. Then, after they nail that initial phase, they're expanding to major corporations. But here's where it gets really exciting for everyday people. After that, they're planning to expand into customer remittances through the Flutterwave Send app. This means regular folks will be able to send affordable, instant cross-border payments to millions of people, and we're probably talking about millions of individuals across Africa here. This is absolutely fantastic news coming from Ripple partner Flutterwave and their collaboration with Polygon. When you think about the impact this could have on people's lives, being able to send money home quickly and cheaply, it's really game-changing stuff. And speaking of exciting developments, guys, Mike Manfield just brought something really cool to our attention. This one's all about Ripple connected V Americas, and they're seriously strengthening their remittance network in Vietnam. This is huge for the region. So V Americas, who's another Ripple partner and a major player in the remittance and international money transfer game, just teamed up with Dongflong Money Transfer. And this partnership is pretty incredible because it's all about enhancing how they deliver funds. We're talking about getting money directly to people's homes, and even local cash pickup points. This gives people sending money so much more flexibility and convenience when they're trying to support their families back home. Think about it. Whether someone wants the money delivered straight to their door or they prefer to pick it up at a local spot, they've got options now. That's what real-world utility looks like. Through this partnership, V America's customers can now send money for home delivery in both US dollars and Vietnamese dong. That's VND for short, as you can see here. Now, here's something that might blow your mind. Vietnam is actually one of the top remittance destinations in the entire world. We're talking about $16 billion in annual remittances flowing into the country. That's absolutely massive. And get this, that $16 billion represents nearly 3.2% of Vietnam's entire gross domestic product. But here's the kicker. Remittance inflows grew by more than 30% in 2024 alone. That's explosive growth. Why does this matter so much? Because families all across Vietnam depend on these secure and flexible payout options to fund the essentials. We're talking about education for their kids, healthcare, and just basic daily living expenses. So this isn't just about crypto partnerships. This is about real people's lives and livelihoods. Here's what's really happening on the ground. Tons of people from Vietnam move abroad to work and then send money back home to support their families. It's a huge part of how these economies work. And Vietnam isn't unique here either. Remittances are absolutely critical in many countries across that region. The Philippines is another perfect example, where families depend heavily on money sent from overseas. So when you think about it, making those money transfers cheap and cost-effective isn't just nice to have, it's essential for millions of families. That's exactly why partnering with Ripple-connected companies like Americas makes perfect sense. It's the logical next step to solve a real-world problem that affects so many people. And that's the beauty of what we're seeing. Crypto actually solving real problems for real people. Big shout out to Mike for bringing that to our attention. Now, this next story is absolutely fascinating. BlackRock CEO Larry Fink just made some pretty bold comments about crypto and gold, calling them assets of fear. But before you get upset, let me explain what he actually means by that. This all went down at a roundtable discussion at the Future Investment Initiative. And this literally just happened in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. So Larry Fink is saying that crypto assets are totally legitimate investments for people who want to hedge against optimism. Now that's a really interesting way to put it, isn't it? I've actually got the exact quote here, and there's a clip I want to show you. Now, in a completely separate interview with 60 Minutes, Fink revealed something pretty honest about his own journey with crypto. He admitted that he was initially super skeptical about Bitcoin. Like, really skeptical. But here's what's interesting. He says he was eventually forced to completely rethink his position as the technology kept evolving and improving. That's a pretty big admission from someone who runs the world's largest asset management company. And honestly, I have a sneaking suspicion that he probably knew all along and was just playing possum the whole time. That is the right expression, right? Playing possum? If I'm butchering that phrase, definitely let me know in the comments. Now, Robin Monody posted something that's pretty thought-provoking, and it might make you a bit uncomfortable. He's saying that the digital prison will actually be implemented through blockchain technology. Think about that for a second, guys. Even though we're all invested in what we believe is the best cryptocurrency in the world, XRP, this technology is going to fundamentally reshape how everything works. And unfortunately, it's probably going to give governments and institutions way more control over regular people like you and me. Robin actually put together a whole list of ways to hedge against this new financial system and what some people are calling the Great Reset. But before we dive into that, I want you to hear this clip of Larry Fink explaining exactly how he sees crypto fitting into this new reality we're heading toward.
I would say the biggest question from central banks is what is the role of tokenization and digitization? How quickly should they think about digitizing their own currency? What does that mean for the role of the dollar? If every currency digitizes and we have what does that mean for bank payments? What does that mean for the payment companies like MasterCard and Visa? All these are being questioned right now. I think we spend so much time talking about AI. We're not spending enough time talking about how quickly we're going to tokenize every financial asset and the opportunity we're going to have a digital wallet and moving ETFs and other things through a digital wallet. And I think that's going to happen worldwide very rapidly. And I think most countries are ill-prepared for that and underappreciate how technology is changing that, not unlike how technology is changing AI and other things. It will be changing the technology around the plumbing of finance.
And here's what's really fascinating. He's using the exact same language that Brad Garlinghouse has been talking about since way back in 2019. You know, all that talk about being the plumbing of finance and changing the rails of how money moves around the world. And of course, we know the XRP Ledger is going to be a massive part of making all of that happen. Of course, Ripple is the major powerhouse behind the XRP Ledger, and Professor Ripple Effect also jumped in with some commentary on this. But wait, did you guys catch the most recent World Economic Forum video? Because there's apparently a little surprise hidden right in the first 2 seconds that's pretty interesting. Let me show you what I'm talking about. This clip, and I'm betting you guys are going to spot it immediately. Yep, there it is, the Ripple logo. Ripple is actually featured right there in this brand new World Economic Forum video. That's pretty huge when you think about it, but let me tell you what they're actually discussing in this video.
What do all of these companies have in common? Innovation? Yes. Transformative ideas? Sure. There's something else, though. They're all technology pioneers. But what is a technology pioneer?
A technology pioneer is an individual who creates the future, does not predict it.
Tech pioneer to me is someone doing something incredibly groundbreaking, right? With either the invention or the application of technology.
It's believing in what you do and why you do it, wholeheartedly believe in the industry that I serve and in the people that I serve.
Is someone taking the risk to go and find the truth about a path and help advance society knowledge and society in general by doing so?
Being a tech pioneer means being chosen as one of the companies that's most likely to change the world in some positive way.
Through funding, through partnerships, through very value-driven feedback to make sure that you and your ideas are successful.
So I'm going to leave it there. They are creating the future. And guys, this is straight from the World Economic Forum themselves. They're literally putting it right out there in plain sight for everyone to see. I mean, they're not even trying to hide it anymore. It's pretty crystal clear where they see all of this heading. And here's the thing. Ripple has been a World Economic Forum partner for years now. This isn't some new relationship that just happened overnight. So when you're holding XRP in your portfolio, you're not just holding any random crypto. You're holding what I truly believe is the gold standard of digital assets. That's not just hype talking, that's institutional validation. And guys, we're not talking about chump change here. We're not even talking millions or billions of dollars. We are talking about trillions with a capital T. RippleX, that's their developer account on Twitter X, just posted something that's absolutely mind-blowing. They're asking, how is regulated blockchain infrastructure reshaping capital markets?
As an ex-regulator, I can testify this is the only regulated way if we really want to break through and we stop talking about millions, billions, but actually trillions, because the opportunity in front of us is in trillions.
He's saying not millions, not billions, but trillions in opportunity. That's the kind of scale we're talking about here, people. So I wanted to show you guys this incredible visualization they put together. I'm not going to play the entire video because we'd be here all day, but I absolutely have to show you how they're visualizing $1 trillion. I mean, we can kind of assume what $10,000 actually looks like in physical cash. So these are all stacks of $100 bills, each stack representing $100,000, for example. But wait until you see what happens when we scale this up to $1 million. Okay, it's starting to look a little larger. Okay, let's get up to $1 billion. And wow, that's already pretty massive. I mean, you can see the $1 million stack way back there for comparison. I actually skipped over $100 million. But this right here, this is $1 billion. But hold on to your hats, because when you see $1 trillion, holy cow! Look at that. That's what $1 trillion looks like, and it's absolutely dwarfing that $1 billion pile. Now here's the part that absolutely blew my mind. Right at the end of this video, they dropped this insane fact. It would take you more than 2,700 years to spend $1 trillion if you were burning through $1 million every single day. Let that sink in for a moment. $1 million every day for over 2,700 years. That was honestly the most mind-blowing takeaway for me, because it really puts into perspective just how absolutely massive we're talking here. The scale is almost incomprehensible. So when regulators are sitting around the table talking about the XRP Ledger, and they're not throwing around numbers like millions or billions, but trillions of dollars, I think it becomes pretty crystal clear where all of this is headed, doesn't it? Larry Fink absolutely knows what's coming down the pipeline. The World Economic Forum, they know exactly what's up too. These aren't coincidences, people. This is all part of a much bigger picture that's unfolding right before our eyes. Here's the reality check, guys. We're still trading in what's essentially a speculative market right now. We're all still waiting for that massive real-world utility to really kick in and change everything. So the big question everyone's asking is, how long is this actually going to take? Well, I've definitely got some thoughts on that timeline.